I want to move on to Ted Lasso. Again, congratulations on your Emmy nominations for your work on season 1.
Thank you.
It's awesome. I loved it. Binged it, of course.
I feel like a lot of people binge season 1 and then are angry about kind of the rollout weekly, because I feel like it was a slow burn for a lot of people. And then by the time people figured out people were talking about Ted Lasso, they could binge the whole season. So it'll be interesting, I think, when people get to the end, because the weekly rollout is kind of unusual nowadays. And especially with I think the little things Jason's been doing this season, you're going to get to the end and be like, oh, I didn't, I didn't see that coming, is what I'm hoping and praying for, because I think we do some turns, but they build over the whole season. And, it's 12 episodes this year. So I'm excited for the end discussion, I should say.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It needs to be rolled out slowly, because we're still working on things. There's a lot of visual effects in the show. For those who don't know, we don't play in front of a live stadium crowd. That's all added in visual effects. We play out in the middle of a field somewhere with green screen. So there's a lot of work and visual effects and sound, and the amount of iPhones in the show. You're working on an Apple show, man. A lot of iPhones and laptops that need to be keyed in. So thank God to our assistant editors, Alex Zabo and Francesca Castro. They're amazing doing all that temp tracking work, so we can get a feel of how it will be. So yeah.
But Jason,
that's why we're doing the rollout. Yeah.
But Jason would always say like people, I got to see what he would see some complaints that's like, we're just like an Apple advertisement. He's like, no, I mean, that's not Jason's mindset at all with the show. He's just like, what are you on all day long? It's your phone. You know what I mean? It's real life. And he's very into real life. And I'm like, you're right. Like this season, because it's so phone heavy, we played with having like, kind of the text come up on the screen, and like not cutting to an insert, but just having it kind of be on the screen. And Jason's just like, it just doesn't feel like real as what you're like. He's like, everybody, you look anywhere, everybody's doing this. So it's not so much an Apple placement as in like, everybody's got this phone and looking, and I was like, got me. You're right. Like that. I'm all day long texting people. Like, who makes phone calls anymore? No, like, and if you do, you're like a sociopath.
It's weird, right?
So I really appreciate that about him and his commitment to what he feels is right and his vision for the show. And I mean, that's how I feel about Jason. I would follow him into the fires. I'm like, let's mount up. I'm with you. Let's go, because he's just such a visionary in that way for me. So.
Oh, he really is. It's so fun to edit with him. We're with him face to face on Zoom, and he just knows so many amazing film and television references. He's seen it all. So, we're always seem to be doing an homage to something. And I find myself watching, more film and TV and, because of all his references. But, to what Mel was saying about the rollout this year is, I think people should be patient, especially all you people on Twitter, because, each episode it's going to reveal it to you as the viewer, how it was revealed to us as editors and how it happened to the crew and even the actors. This was a real vision in the minds of Jason Sudeikis and then the writing team of Bill Lawrence and everyone in the writer's room, and they created a real arc. And so that happened to Mel and I. Like, we were cutting episodes 2 and 3, and then a few weeks later we got the scripts for episodes 10 and 11, and we're like, oh wow, that's interesting. So now maybe we go back and do an adjustment in episode 2, 3, knowing now what happens in episode 10 and 11. So we had more of that luxury season 1, a little less so this year because we were on a tighter, quicker turnaround, but still we had the time to go back and adjust and make adjustments, knowing what we know now. So I would say to the viewers, enjoy that as we did. Be patient.
What was the approach, I guess, to season 2? I mean, like, what discussions did you have prior to starting this new season? Were you looking to try different things, trying to stay away from things that you did in maybe certain things in season 1? What were those conversations like?
Don't fuck it up. Keep it awesome.
No,
was there pressure?
A little pressure, but mostly it was like I felt like the gloves were off. Like, let's do this now. You know what I mean? Like, whereas we were more unsure, and I think soft step season 1 and season 2, I felt like I was like, let's go. Let's take those creative leaps. Let's embrace what people were loving about the show. And I just thought it was so cool that we got to explore different characters and patience. Like Jason is all about having patience in explaining our moments. And so I felt like we felt more confident in that yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Building those moments with patience and gravitas and, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I think we were nervous in season 1. We're doing a half-hour comedy that was, pushing 34, 35 minutes in season 1, and then I think we just that went out the window. It's like, well, we'll take people who are loving the show. The fans will have patience and will watch. So let's delve into the moments, and it cuts differently than a comedy. I learned that as an example of learning something new on every project. In comedy early on, I was always taught to hurry up and get to the next joke. And then when that joke's done, get to the next joke after that. But this was more about, it's not all about the comedy. It's about taking time for those dramatic moments and seeing how the characters are reacting to each other. And leaving some extra pauses there as needed. We developed some shorthand, Mel and I, like stopping time, like this moment, we need to stop time on this moment and just sit in it for a second and leave room for an inhale and an exhale and those breaths so that, we get the laughs and the audience has a chance to laugh. And it was just great. Jason and Bill giving us the confidence to stick with it and leave time and take the time that's needed for the story.
I have another question from a member of the Hollywood Editing Mentor community. Chris Kobe says, the show has a special way of balancing the comedy with dramatic human moments. How do you strike this balance in the editing?
There's times we do the quick, if he's talking with Rebecca in his office and it's fast paced and, I'm thinking of the first episode when it was like, so sometimes girl talk needs to be more like, girl, listen, like that was really rat-a-tat, rat-a-tat, rat-a-tat. But I think also in this show, we're really big into the reaction shots, because there's so many different characters and everybody's so funny. And everyone's always listening, which is such a pleasure. So you get a lot of really great Nate, Beard, Roy. I mean, there's just so many people you can go to. So that's been really fun building those moments because it's all about how these characters are with one another. So you're always wanting to see how, Roy's grumpiness against Jamie is all these different Keely and Rebecca and their girlfriend relationship, like Ted with anybody, how anybody's reacting to Ted's Tedisms. It's always really fun to go that route. Everybody's always giving you a little something extra on their side when the focus is on our other character. So that's been really fun for the comedy. That's different from this show, I think, than some. But yeah, it's also, we plant a lot of things. So, sometimes reaction shots are in there sneakily to set up something maybe 2 episodes down the way. And it's, we know it, and hopefully subconsciously you know it. And so when we get to that moment later on, you've felt we've set that up. Whether you get it or not, you get it, sort of thing. So this show's different in that way of because a lot of times, comedy is like fast, and I don't think as much character stuff sometimes. But Ted Lasso is really big into the character stuff. So when you get to those dramatic moments, you can slow down take your time.
I mean, I guess talking about comedy, I mean, how do you gauge comedy? I mean, how do you determine what's funny if a joke is working? I mean, obviously, you're working together as you're doing your editor's cut. Obviously, then working with directors and Jason eventually. But I mean, how does that play out as far as gauging what is going to work or probably what isn't?
Well, I mean, Lasso is a show that, it's not so funny maybe on the surface as perhaps other sitcom shows are. Sort of a deeper kind of comedy. It's more of a situational comedy, true to the word sitcom. So I find myself laughing at moments that aren't necessarily jokes, but just sort of kind of the insanity that our characters are kind of going through. When Ted realizes that Higgins has hired Dr. Sharon to stick around for the season, and to see him fretting, like that, it's, he's not necessarily saying a joke, but it's just the situation that he's now got to confront, having a therapist, in the same building as him, which is probably, something he's avoided, all his life, because he solves problems with, biscuits with the boss, and, loving barbecue sauce, and, making a lot of, wonderful, puns, and, Caesar you later. And, so he's now having to sort of face his fears. And so, it's not about, a specific joke, although those are wonderful and those are there. I just think you feel it, if it makes me laugh, I put it in when I'm choosing, performance that I like. And I think Jason trusts us, and I think we're in line with his sensibilities. And so it works. But sometimes he'll surprise me. He'll be like, hey, is there a different read or a performance on that? I might want to try something else. And then we put that in, and then I'm like, absolutely, that works better. Or oftentimes he'll be like, no, that's it. You got the right one. Let's move on. So I think you just feel it. That's the magic question. How is something funny? I think when you feel it, when you laugh at it, and when you feel it, it's about both.
Yeah. When I go through, I'm always, whatever tickles me, I'm like, I got to get that in. And then I always try to remember if something's like close second, or I'm like, they tried this, and I think, maybe they might like this. I always try to cut an alt quickly, like I'll get the bones of it, a joke or something. I'll get it, the bones of it, and then swap it out, like dupe the sequence, and I have an alt spin and try that. So then, when I'm got Jason in, if I remember, I'll be like, I just want to show you this if you like it. Like some, not all the times, but sometimes I'll do those things. Cause I have a very strong, opinion about my humor, but, I'm also not smug enough to think that I'm the end all be all of humor. So I like to have the option if they've given me multiple things, but a lot of times it's just like one take, they found something and it's just hilarious and you can't deny it. It's whatever character-wise they did. It's just makes me laugh and makes me giggle. Then it's got it. I have to find a way to get that piece in. So in a close-up, if it's in a wide shot, like I remember the funny, and then sometimes I build the scene around just getting that in there, that joke, that reaction shot.
Yeah, improv makes our show fun. We don't have a ton of it. Because a lot of it is so well written, but it's definitely there. Like, when Ted walks out of Rebecca's office and says, "High five, Tree," there's one take of that. It's just something he thought of in that moment. And I was like, have to get that button in. And yeah, you reverse engineer from that point backwards. So, and hitting his head on the door, and then Mel, we go on and on. There's a ton of awesome improv in the show, and that's what's great with working with a comedic actor, like Jason in his SNL days. Is he's always going to keep you on your toes as an editor and surprise you. Like, I didn't see that coming, and you remember it and love it, and I think also that something's funny when you watch cut after cut after cut. It still makes you laugh. It's just you can bank on that.
I was gonna say there was this one episode 3, I think, when they're all in the locker room, they're all going hard after Jamie, and you cut to the Dutch player, and he says something like, "I don't know you, but I don't like you."
Yes.
And it's just like this 2
I
seconds.
love that.
I could not stop laughing for for like the remainder of the show.
Jan Maas has the funniest bits. He will continue to make you laugh with his Dutch witticisms.
And that was something that I didn't even hear in the, because it was also loud, and I didn't like, I just had it be like it was just like a den of people just yelling at him. And Jason was like, I think he's saying, because he was there on set. And that was when I was like, oh, and I went and found his lob and dug that out, and then like stayed there longer to finish the sentence because I didn't hear it in the Avid. That was another thing where it was like, oh, that wasn't scripted. And thankfully, Jason on set remembered that. And yeah, we dug that out, raised that up. There's a lot of those this season where he was like, hey, I think he's yelling like, hell yeah, in the rom-com episode where they start talking about Renee Zellweger, and like one of the players in the very back yells like, hell yeah. So I was just like digging through like all the laughs, because there's like, 15, 16 with that, when the big locker room scenes. And I was like, oh, there it is. So I could dig those out. And thankful for having people on set that finish the shows with us to find those little gems that sometimes get hidden in the sound files that come to us.
Do you guys use script sync at all? I know that's something that's really, used a lot in comedy.
I like it because in comedy, to me, it's about finding the best version of a line quickly. And it's definitely come in handy working with Bill and Jason when they're like, what else do we got on that? And they want to try it in the moment, and script sync comes in handy then. I also like it because to me, it maps out a scene very quickly, and I can see how the scene was structured. It's like a roadmap. So I do ask my assistant to script sync. That's the workflow I like. Yeah.
I don't like it.
Oh, really?
I love it. There's some conflict on the podcast. Tell me what.
Exactly.
Change my mind, Mel. Change my mind.
No. I mean, it's totally fine. And I guess maybe it's just because I have always and maybe, I don't know. I like to watch all the dailies, and then I just, and maybe it's because there's not like, we don't have like so much footage that it's overwhelming. I think if that's the case, like I'll have my assistant do it on like huge scenes, like in the pilot, when Jason's first press conference, like I did the big scenes that I know, like maybe producers are going to want to really dig in on these. And I've got a ton of footage, like let's do those. And so I prioritize those, but I don't usually use it to cut so much. I don't know. There's just something about just going in the bins and I write my notes down. And so like, I'll like, when I'm watching the dailies, like I like to sit back and watch all of my dailies, and then I'll write down, like, I like this line, and then I'll start from there, like when I'm working. But it's not that I don't like it. It's just I would rather my assistant do other things, I guess. So it's not my priority for getting a scene. I'd rather, yeah. But I know so many people use it. It's just not my thing.
Yeah. No, I hear a lot of editors cut without it. I think it's very cool. And I think also then there's, you watching and studying those takes and kind of picking a couple key takes that you stick with, and then you don't change that as much, but for consistency and continuity. Yeah.
Multicams, I think I used it more when I worked on multicams too, because for some reason, those would really help, because that's all about like line reads, especially when you get into the room with the producers and stuff. So, I don't say that I don't use it all the time. I'll just say selectively.
This show has some great music, and earlier you mentioned the use of She's a Rainbow by the Rolling Stones, which was in episode 5 of this new season. Can you tell us how that sequence came together?
Talk about what a team effort that She's a Rainbow was. Like that was scripted, and but then like the material came in, and I was like, this is a long journey. and it needs to be 5 minutes, and the song is 3 minutes. And so it was like, I built kind of like, I just added edit so you could so the instrumentals ran under like a lot of the dialogue, and then where I wanted to pick up, and then I sent it to our music editor and I was like, please can you fix these, because there's no instrumental of that song because it's older. So it was like kind of impossible for me to do like a smooth edit, and he nailed it. And then was like at the end, I'd always had it land. Have you seen her dressed in blue when Higgins' wife comes in and she's wearing blue? And he was like, did you notice that Keely's in gold? And so I had the line, have you seen her all in gold, land on that. So then any changes I made, I was like, okay, we got to keep the strings on Nate. We got to keep those blue and golds and like anything else. And then so he probably did like 40 music edits of that for me. But everybody, that was like, my assistant, she came up with what if the music stopped when Roy's, knee goes out. So that was a real, like, just like what a creative, great, because we were trying to find ways to expand the song and not have it be so repetitive. And so that was I was talking about it with her because so many people reached out to me about that song. And I was like, it's just encapsulates, I feel like, Ted Lasso so well because it has been such I feel like I've embraced Ted Lasso in my work life, like of just being like, Ted listens to Nate the Kit Man and that just makes everybody stronger. And I was like, what a brilliant, and then I know lots of people talk about this now too, like CEOs and coaches should all listen. And I was like, well, now we have to live our lives like that. And what a great way to live, to not feel so closed off and just open up and say like, bring your A game. What are you going to bring? And we're going to all elevate one another. And I really feel like so lucky that we all got to go on this show because I feel we're going to be able to carry that into anything we go into. And also right now I'm trying to embrace what a beautiful work environment we have that ability to work together as a team like this. It's such a luxury and I just feel so lucky over our team, like, working with AJ and Alex and me with Francesca, my assistant, and then our whole like Robbie, Caitlin, Kip, music and sound. Brent Finley, our supervising sound editor, is just so lovely and works with us. And we talk about, we have a great back and forth with everybody, and it's just it's just been beautiful. Feel really lucky. Yeah. When you get on shows like that, you just don't have that sometimes. You get on a show and then you're working like dogs and you don't get to meet people as much, and then it gets canceled, and then you just didn't get a chance to form those relationships. And we've just been able to do that on this, and so embracing it. And I hope this kind of work environment for everybody at some point. And I know might not have it forever, so I'm trying to really embrace it and appreciate it.
Yeah, so well said. No, beautiful. And we've given our assistant editors a chance to edit the season. They both got editing credits on the season this year. So because of their, we've just really, trusted in them to help with the vision, and everybody brings something to the table. Yes, and great call on the rest of our post team. Even our post coordinator, Robbie Stevenson, has gotten so involved with, helping us find stock shots and, suggesting songs and, and helping, and it's now we're at a point where it's all eyes on the show. So everyone's like watching the final details and everyone's, contributing. And yeah, it's really firing on all cylinders. And I just hope that's a workflow I can take the Lasso way, man. Yeah. I've learned a new thing.
Yeah. What a blessing
it is a blessing. Yeah. Very grateful.
Yeah.
To the editing gods. Thank you, editing gods.
It's special when this happens.
Yeah.
Right. And definitely got to enjoy the moment. And,
absolutely. Live in the moment. Be present. Be a goldfish.
Live in the now.
Exactly. I watched season 1. I want to be Ted Lasso. Like that, honestly, I gotta say.
That speaks about you because a lot of people say like I want to be Roy Kent. So I love that you're Ted Lasso. Like we all took that personality quiz, right? At the end of season 1, they did that. And we were all like, who are we? I can't remember what you were, AJ. What were you?
Oh, I know. I probably came up as Nate. But I identify also with Rebecca too, because she is learning to we all have a lot of, sort of angst or trauma or shadow in our life, and it comes out sideways, but it's just so much more conscious, and we bring it out, forward, consciously. And she's just done that in her arc of season 1 and does even way more in season 2. And I like the message that, she could have had a conflict relationship with Keely, but instead she embraced Keely, and that's worked out better. So I think, so I would say I would relate to Rebecca or Nate. Yeah.
Well, I got to say, of course, I'm also a little bit Danny Rojas. I got to say.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Football is life.
He's just beautiful like that in person. We were so lucky we got to go to the premiere this year, and he was there.
See him.
He had such a big role in episode 1, and I think he just was loving it. Everybody loves Danny Rojas.
Oh yeah, he's become a star now. He's everywhere. He's here, so he's there, he's everywhere.
Yeah, he's just so beautiful, personality wise. You just feel warm and enveloped with when you're talking to him, and he just feels like a light. And so the whole cast actually, oh my gosh, we got to meet Rebecca, who was just glowing, and Roy, who was amazing. Just lovely. Keely she gave AJ has a beautiful picture of him and Keely just in a really tight embrace. The whole cast is just lovely, and I mean, what a special time, I think everybody's loving it, and just we all know how lucky we are. So it was just beautiful getting all together and celebrating, and that the cast was equally as lovely in person,
And they give a shout out. Mel got a shout out from Jeremy Swift, who plays Higgins on Twitter the other week, complimenting the editing. Brett Goldstein, who plays Roy Kent, has basically said that, he's not athletic at all. And that's all the magic of the editors. So, it's lovely to get those shout outs, and they appreciate it.
Yeah, and because they shoot in London and we're here, and so in any other show we're just hidden. And I've worked on shows where you're actually on the lot where they're filming, so you could walk down and meet the directors. And we didn't have any directors in our rooms. Few stopped by.
Declan came and visited us. Yeah.
But at the end, he'd already given his notes. He was just in LA, and we were still working. And everybody else. Yeah. So it's nice that we were able to actually interact, because that's one thing I love doing, is just going onto set for, walking down, talking about the dailies with the director, with the team, meeting the cinematographers, and
I love it too. Yeah.
Yeah. And they can give you little tidbits and hey, check out for this, and we just kind of you don't have that with this, across the pond, but also lovely for authenticity. And I'm so happy that they, didn't try to find editors in London. We got to be in LA.
Right.
So it's kind of like, the working from home. It's a blessing and a curse sometimes, and you just have to embrace what you can embrace. And
no, it sounds like, it was just, it's a tight knit group. It's a tight family. And you could just see that, especially not only talking with you, but obviously watching the show. So congratulations again on some awesome work, an amazing show, and congrats on your Emmy nominations.
Thank you.
We're going to be rooting for you definitely at this year's Emmys, no doubt about it.
Woo. Mel and I are rooting for a tie, the Ted Lasso ties.
Oh my God, that would be so awesome.
A draw?
A draw.
A draw. Yeah, use the right word. Draw.
All right, guys. Melissa McCoy,
thank you.
AJ Catoline, thank you for being here and taking time out of your busy schedule. Happy to have you here on the Hollywood Editing Mentor podcast.
Thanks.
Thank you, Joaquin.